Hi, thank you for clicking on the video. As you can see, we're jumping into the Family Guy universe today. Now, as per usual, if for some reason you've never seen Family Guy at all and you don't like spoilers, then you should jump off of here, go and watch Family Guy, and then come back. But if you don't care, then we move on. And in this instance, you probably shouldn't care because it's like 20 something seasons of Family Guy. Today we are going to be talking about Quagmire, specifically Quagmire's hate for Brian, which I feel is very hypocritical of him and just very unnecessary. Now there is an episode where he fully breaks down every reason why he hates Brian. I don't exactly remember what he said because that's one of them earlier episodes. Okay, so yeah, most of the stuff that he did say is like stuff that Quagmire does, but 10 times worse, right? So, like, this is not exact words, but basically he pointed out like how Brian is one of those big talkers who will say something but never do nothing, right? So he'll be like, well, that thing should be done and then not do it, or be like, well, a book should be written about this but then not write the book, right? And honestly, that only affects Brian. That has nothing to do with Quagmire. That doesn't bring anything to his life, right? Good or bad. Like, the reason why it affects Brian is because Brian always walks around talking about he feels like he's never accomplished anything, but if you would just do some of the things that you point out, then you will feel accomplished, right? So yeah, that makes him feel worse about himself, but that literally does nothing for Quagmire's life. To hate somebody over that is crazy work, right? And while Brian has done some things to Quagmire, I feel like most of them are justified, and it's probably just a part of Quagmire's karma because he is such a terribly disgusting person, right? Like, for instance, this I thought was actually messed up on Brian's end, right? He was a realtor and he sold Quagmire a property that was not so great. And Quagmire found out that within a certain time frame he could get his money back. But Brian stalled him out to the very last second so he didn't have to unsell that house. And while it was messed up, I did feel like it was just a part of Quagmire's karma. Another thing he did, he like went to a class. Brian did. He went to a class to try and become more romantic, and Quagmire was running the class. Now he was in this class trying to get tips to better woo a girl that he actually wanted to be with, right? And so he goes to her with these tips that Quagmire gave these people in his class, which was terrible advice, right? And after using this advice, the girl was like, I want nothing to do with you, which makes sense. So when Brian confronts Quagmire, he like, what you mean? Like, this is like advice for one night stands and stuff like that. I don't know why you would do that for a girl you actually want to be with. And you didn't make that clear. So Brian went out and found the one girl Quagmire said he regret letting go, and with Quagmire's advice, got that girl to be all up over him. Yes, I thought that was very justified. Like, you didn't make it clear what this class was. You are a piece of shit. um, and then also another thing that Quagmire be holding a grudge over Brian with is Brian came back into town the episode that Quagmire's dad transitioned into Ida, and he ended up sleeping with Ida. He did not know that that was Quagmire's dad. Okay, like Quagmire was acting like Brian specifically went out his way to sleep with the woman who was formerly known as your dad, right? Like, Brian wasn't even in town. You knew Brian wasn't in town, so why are you acting like he did this out of spite towards you? You know what I mean? When Stewie told Brian what he had done, he literally was sick to his stomach, right? And so, like, I don't understand why Quagmire went out his way to feel so upset and like, oh, I can't believe you've done this to me. When it came to that, like, he didn't do nothing to you. He didn't know what he didn't know, right? So that was very irritating, you know what I mean? But let's talk about the main reason why Quagmire hates Brian, right? The main reason Quagmire hates Brian is because Brian has a crush on Lois. Brian has had a crush on Lois since season 1. It was very obvious. Like, and I'm gonna be completely honest. At one point, Peter was like, "Oh, he like was breaking down something, and then he said something about, and while he always liked my wife, and I'll always have a hatred for him a little bit inside, or some shit like that." I'm like, boy, boo, it's a crush. Like, Brian, no, ain't no chance with Lois. Like, you know, most people who have a crush is like, I just like that person, but I don't ever see this actually going anywhere. That's why it's called a crush. Cause your heart, you crushing your own heart by even liking the motherfucker. Cause you know it ain't going nowhere, you know. But like, Brian has never gone out of his way to actively try to get in between Peter and Lois's relationship. Brian has never stolen items of Lois's and like kept them for himself. Brian has never taken secret photos of Lois and like buried them throughout the yard for his eyes only. Now, these are things that Quagmire has done. Okay? Quagmire has stolen multiple items of Lois's and has them in his house, and nobody knows that he has them. He has multiple secret photos of Lois in his house, and this man is literally in love with Lois. That episode when I think Peter was messing around with death and him and Brian went back in time, Quagmire was still friends with Peter during this time, and he literally swooped in to get Lois, you know, and Peter had to fix everything, but he didn't care about y'all friendship. You know what I mean? So you're hating this dog for having a crush on this girl when you literally would throw Peter away. You would throw him off the ends of the earth if you could, you know, to be with this woman. You know what I mean? Like, even when that episode when Peter got lost at sea, like, Lois told him that the reason why she married Brian was because he was there for the family. He's a part of the family. Obviously, he's gonna be there for y'all. What the hell are you talking about? That was no excuse to marry him. You just piece of shit too. I don't like Lois, as you can tell, but she'll have her time. But yeah, like in that episode, even though Brian would have loved their marriage to be a real marriage, when Peter came back, he was like, okay, you know, let's just divorce and you be with Peter, because that's clearly, you know, what is best for everybody in this situation, what y'all want, and let's just do that. And Brian will always put his friendship with Peter over anything, right? And there have been occasions where Brian hasn't done something or has done something for the sake of his friendship with Peter. And I feel like if the opportunity really did present itself to be with Lois, I think he'd be like, well, I can't because Peter's my best friend. In reality, right? I think Quagmire would jump on that, right? Now, mind y'all, Quagmire is somebody who walks around proud to have a bunch of STDs, and he don't disclose this information to the women that he's sleeping with, right? Like, he's mentioning it here and there, but he's not actively telling all of these women that he's sleeping with, raw dogging by the way. Like, he's not divulging, disclosing. I don't know why the hell I just said divulging. He's not disclosing this information. And so, you know, he's not only spreading a bunch of diseases around, he's also having a bunch of kids, and he's not taking care of them. We literally see in the episode, he goes into these different classrooms, and there's one of, you know, his kids in each of these in each of these classrooms. So you know that you have all these kids running around here, but you just don't want to take care of them. And, you know, that's also awful. And then also, he prides himself on walking around with like roofies and different date rape jugs in his pockets. Like, there was an episode where Meg was on some weird ass with this guy she liked, and she went over to Quagmire and got a bag full of roofies, and he just like, yep, well, enjoy your time with them. Like, then there on that episode where they were on The Bachelorette, like, this man was on camera roofing this girl, and the only reason he didn't do anything to her is because he got caught and he noticed the camera. But that alone is illegal. He should have been locked up. Like, the fact that he wasn't locked up is beyond me, just from that alone, because it's literally on camera that he roofied this girl. Crazy work. Then, like, like I was saying, I don't think that he's really Peter's friend for a multitude of reasons, but I'm gonna give you just this one example, right? This so when Meg turned 18, Quagmire was like, "Oh yeah, this is my time," and he went over there and was all up in her face. And Peter even was like, haha, like, look at Quagmire flirting with that girl, like he be doing. And then he was like, wait, that's my daughter. I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't like this. I don't want you in my daughter's face. Lois said she didn't want Quagmire in her daughter's face. Both of them said that we are not comfortable with this. And he still pursued their daughter. That's not your friend. You know what I mean? Like you're nasty. And I'm gonna be completely honest. Like I know that it's just a TV show. It's just an animated TV show. I know that these are jokes. You know, but I'm gonna be completely honest. When it comes to Quagmire, a lot of their jokes I don't find funny. You know what I mean? I just find it disgusting. I find it disturbing. You know, just like when it comes to like Hubert, that old man, he's disgusting. And if you were to run into like people like that in real life, you wouldn't want to be around them. You wouldn't want your children to be around them. And if you're friends with someone like that and you know what they're doing, mind y'all, the whole friend group know how Quagmire is. The whole friend group know he got a bunch of diseases, know that he be having a bunch of kids out of wedlock, know that he be roofing people and raping people, know that he's a pedo, and they're still besties with him. They find it funny. Like, I'm side-eyeing you if you friends with somebody like that in real life. I'm just going to assume birds of a feather flock together in this instance, because there's no way that you would actually want to be friends with somebody like that. Not in real life. You know what I mean? And so while I can understand the jokes in the show, in real life, you wouldn't want to be around nobody like that. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to me. Like Quagmire is like one of the most hypocritical characters in the show. He is very judgmental, and he has no right and no place. Just because you're like upfront about your nastiness doesn't mean that you have the right to be judgmental. In fact, you need to be quiet. You need to shut the fuck up. You need to go off and get locked up or something, because like I don't even know why you run around like free. Like there's so much evidence and proof to have him locked up forever, and he's just out free. It's crazy. But if you made it this far, why don't you tell me what your, like, if you like Quagmire, why don't you tell me what your favorite Quagmire moment is? If you don't like Quagmire, why don't you tell me what is your top reason for not liking Quagmire? Okay. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel, because there is more on the way, and there's already videos up. If you haven't seen them, you should go ahead and check them out. And with that being said, I will see you next time. Bye.